Depending on my slave master for my ID. Trying desperately to wake up at the end of my leash. Itching for the truth like I'm infected with the fleas. Searching for myself, I have to go and ask Jeeves. It's important that we find out what our nationality. Like, who the heck are we before we hit captivity? Master cut my father overseas. We were harbor and not as copacetic, cause the luxuries they offer took the bribe and coincided with the gods that they gave us. Ignorance made us blind. Eyes shut inside our mind. Disconnect the heritage so we won't find out who he is. Forefathers had to surrender so they little ones can live. Innocent blood spilling, raping and killing children, doing it by the millions. Then converted us to Christians, made us honor their traditions. That's why holidays are wicked. Now we fight inside their armies, raping, killing, stealing, bombing. Manifest their destiny, chaos they secret recipe. Holocaust the Indians, look what they did to Simeon. Celebrate Thanksgiving and no giving thanks for giving. And yeah, we are forgiven them, but we are not forgetting it. Product of our sins, look at the curses we smitten with. Putting down the sin and being free is a synonym. The history inaccurate is equal to an anonym. If you want the antidote, I rise like Maya Angelou. Come back to the Father, I'm just saying that's what I would do. Getting so ridiculous, to the point it's comical. Information overload, I know a lot to follow, but reality is always a colossal pill to swallow.
You when you're speaking the truth, they will all hate you, just like they did Christ. Be a beacon of light in the midst of the darkness, when the world has grown cold and heartless. Be a beacon of light.
And you cannot convince me that Israel do not need healing. Mama that lost her mind, dying in front of her children. Papa's dealing with narcotics outside of abandoned buildings. Everybody is chilling like this has become the norm. Like it is not appalling to look at the sky falling. Lack of the foundation is part of the explanation why we staggering like drunkards, no destination in sight. Shadow boxing in the night, but the fight is against the light. We need to redirect the energy, focus on the enemy like Planned Parenthood that plant the cells inside the hood. The number one killer.
So to start with.
Merry Christmas and happy birthday, Jesus. I'm so glad it's Christmas.
Yeah, she is really Mrs. Christmas all the way.
Yeah, it's the best time for us to look as gaudy as we want to, and our house can have lights flashing, and the neighbors don't even mind because it's Jesus' birthday.
Yes, they don't know whether it's Jesus' birthday or whether it's a 911 call in my house. Everything's flashing and lit up and beautiful. She said yes. That's the way it is.
Yes.
So I comply, go along with it.
Yes, he likes the reindeer.
Yeah.
The reindeer.
I like the person who put up the reindeer.
The book.
Well, now let's not make this a
guy.
Valentine's special.
Tis
the season.
And right now, behave.
You
Behave.
know what's funny to me? I think that some of our greatest Christmases were actually some of our worst Christmases.
Yeah, I can understand why you would say that, but I think the kids were so little that they had no idea that they didn't have toys from our favorite sorts, that they came from Rite Aid.
Right.
And we hung them on the tree.
Yeah.
And they
Okay, so as you can see, we are back with another reaction video for Saturnalia. I mean Christmas.
Christmas. Or Saturnalia.
Or Saturnalia.
One or the other.
So welcome back to the channel.
Shalom, shalom, family.
Shalom, 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 shalom alaikum. We are back in the house with the fam.
Kane.
Everybody's in the house. Everybody say hey.
Hey.
We got
Special guest.
special guest in the house.
Yeah.
Menelik got his
missus.
significant missus in the house with us, and she joining us for this live recording. And we thought we'd kick it off with a little TD Jakes. Well, no, you gotta respect. No, I think Scripture says you're not supposed to be a respecter of elders. But here's what I'm curious about. Here we got a very well-respected minister within the Christian community saying one thing, and then we're gonna have another minister within the Christian community saying something entirely different. Can we get that?
Yeah, let's
jump to that.
We know what Jakes think.
So this is this particular video, and we're gonna run this down kind of the same way we did the Thanksgiving reaction videos. So we're giving y'all a few that really hit some key points, as opposed to going all the way through one or two that kind of trail off into the indoctrination of Christianity. We want to just hit key points. So this one is T.D. Jakes versus Pastor Gino Jennings, if
Now,
y'all are familiar with this guy.
Before we click on Gino, I wanted to point out, man, you notice she said he liked the reindeer.
Yeah,
He liked the stag.
yeah.
Keep that in mind.
I want you to keep in mind the stag. The reindeer is a stag. Yeah. All right, let's see. Brother Gino got to say.
If you got Christmas trees in your house, you're a Mississippi heathen. Amen. All of you that been lying to your children talking about Santa Claus, you know there ain't no 500-pound man coming down your chimney. Not only are you a heathen, you's a liar. That's right.
Goodness.
He put some stank on that.
Man.
There is no Bible that says Jesus' birthday.
Pause for a
is
second.
December
What,
26th.
is that the?
Is that Santa
Is that
with
the-
the collection plate?
That's the tithing basket, ain't it? So what's Santa doing with the tithing basket
He getting in on that too. Getting that money.
from the church? Okay, go ahead.
Santa
I'm
need
just
his
curious.
cut.
That's what he doing, taking the cut out of it.
And you know it's not in there. That's right. And you claim you love Jesus. If you love him, stop lying on him. Amen. You a bunch of heathen. You a heathen. And I
bunch
don't
of
care if you a
heathens.
preacher. If you a preacher and celebrate Christmas, you's a heathen.
I think them shots was fired
Yeah.
directly at TD
Pause,
Jakes.
because what did he call him? He called him a Mississippi. Now, I think TD from Texas.
I
But
think that's where he at now. I don't know where
he
he's from.
called him a Mississippi heathen. What's a Mississippi heathen?
Shots fired.
Man.
Oh, TD Jakes. Now he
TD
just
and Gino.
Gino just threw out a scripture, and this is one of the main ones we're gonna hit. And anybody who is a practicing Israelite, and evidently some Christians as well, so you got to ask yourself: if you say you believe in the Bible, why is he quoting the scripture? And he threw that Jeremiah 10 out. Go ahead and hit play. Let's see what he's saying.
110th chapter of the book of Jeremiah.
And begin reading at the first
It's
verse.
dealing with idolatry, and one thing about idolatry, when Christmas come around, they idolize that Christmas tree. It's an idol to them.
That's right.
They worship it like someone bound to a god.
That's right.
You're a bunch of heathens, so when you go back home and look at your house all lit up, that's proof.
Proof.
You are heathen.
That's proof.
And
That's right.
that's proof, brother. Hey, brother. Hey, you Mississippi. I'm telling you right to your face. You Jackson, Mississippi heathen.
Dang, Jackson, Mississippi. I think he coming
heathen,
at.
old as you are. Wish up in Christmas for 30, 40, and 50 years. And you ain't seen Santa come down your chimney yet.
Amen.
And you ain't gonna see him, you heathen.
That's a heathen.
After 40 and 50 years, when are you gonna stop lying?
That's right.
When are you gonna stop lying to your children? Taking your children to the department stores and sitting on the lap of a pervert. A
Pervert.
sex offender.
What?
He's sitting on your lap with your child all between his legs, you bunch of heathen.
That's right.
Good.
That's
I
right.
mean, he got me. I'm
This-
frowned up with him.
I'm telling
He's
you.
preaching.
Got they,
That pervert out of here.
not the sex
We
offenders.
know Jesus was born. That's true. But you can't make up a date.
Go ahead. Pause it
Because
there.
Jesus said to
So
believe on-
we're not gonna trail off into, because he finna really start pushing Jesus at this point. But I really think them shots was fired at TD Jakes.
I do.
He came right before that and was talking about how they house be so lit up that you can't tell if it's the police there
Right.
or if it's for Christmas
In
season.
that TD Jakes voice. And we roasted chestnuts
Not roasting the chestnuts.
and marshmallows.
The marshmallows. Okay, so look, this is evidently what Gino is saying is there's something else to this, right? He said you got your house lit up, you're doing all of these pagan practices.
They
Where
got
does that stuff come from?
They got the sex offending Santa in the mall.
Sex offending Santa.
Yeah, that's
I mean, did he just throw is he
his-
just throwing that stuff out there?
getting his jollies off. No pun.
to right. Is he just throwing that stuff out there to insult people, or is he saying that from some base of fact? You know what I'm saying? Let's check this next clip out. Now this is a classic one, and this is just for a little A little levity. Is this the Boondocks? Yeah, go ahead, throw this. Let's run this one. I know y'all familiar with the Boondocks.
And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about.
What is she crying for?
You hear that, boy? That's what Christmas is all about.
Actually, Granddad, Christmas is a pagan holiday. And
like
Jesus probably hates you for celebrating it.
Ain't gonna be no Scrooges in this house, boy.
Look, Granddad, it's clear from the scripture that Jesus was not born in winter. The shepherds who saw the angels announcing his birth would not have been out in their fields in December. The Palestinian winters are too cold, if you believe in that sort of thing. The truth is, Christmas evolved from the Roman holiday Saturnalia, a winter festival where men gave gifts to each other. They also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and beat their wives. People would act so crazy on Christmas, the holiday was outlawed by the Protestant Church until the 1800s. As a matter of fact, the United States Congress...
That's how I be too. That's how I
be. Granddad?
I'm sorry, boy. What was that?
I just explained the entire history of Christmas.
But it was boring, Huey. You just blah, blah, gay sex, blah, blah, Congress. You know, you gotta be interesting.
You know what? That's I know they said it for a joke, but that's exactly how it be. You know, don't nobody want to hear. Look, for them, Christmas is about gifts. It's about food.
Gay
you know,
sex.
Well, I don't know if it's gay sex at every family event, you know, but you know what I'm saying? And so you be trying to tell them, but you know what I've come to accept? I've come to accept people. You know, different things make people tick. Different things make different people tick. Some people enjoy living in their ignorance.
Yeah.
It makes
Ignorance
them
is bliss.
Yeah, it makes them feel good. And you know what? I accept you for you. There are others who enjoy the truth.
Yeah. And that's just it.
You know what I'm saying?
The truth may not be for everybody, but for those who want the truth, this is why we do these types of videos. Okay. But check it out. We add the Boondocks in there as Lauryn Hill saying around, you know, that MFer, so you ignorant, hear me.
I thought that's why we put Gino in there.
Well, that too. But even though we added that little bit of comedic reprieve there's some things there that the Boondocks threw out there, right? So Saturnalia is historically accurate. You know what I'm saying? The debauchery, and all of the things that took place during the time of that celebration, which was around the time of December 25th. That is historically accurate. It started in Rome. That holiday started in Rome. Man, you're talking about a season of drunken parties. And notice we're talking about Rome, so they said it was men giving gifts to each other at that time.
They said they was beating the hell out of their wives.
Yeah, they didn't include the women.
But going to have sex with the men.
So, you know, they had that saying among those people at that time where they said women are for making babies and men are for pleasure. Right. So among those cultures, and they wasn't the only ones, Egypt was doing the same thing. The reason they had the bathhouses in Greek culture and the gymnasiums, the origins of all of that was places where only men were allowed. You know what I'm saying? They went there and had fun with each other. They only practiced knowing each other biblically with their wives when they were trying to procreate to extend their lineage and their heritage. So there's that. What we got next? This is gonna get deep, y'all. Stick with us. What's the next one? We got.
We started out light.
Yeah.
Is it gonna get heavy?
So this brother here did a video, and he did 3 parts, but the third part really goes into indoctrination. But he's got some good facts here. So let's check this out. This is Christmas, what your pastor doesn't want you to know. What your pastor, obviously not Gino, but Maybe T.D. Jakes. Part 1. Why is that boy crying on that man's lap?
Because the kids know. They know.
Why is Santa Claus telling you don't tell nobody? Y'all know that's a Masonic symbol. That one finger over the lips.
What Christmas is really about and where it comes from. There are millions of atheists, agnostics, and even a lot of Christians who have really been misinformed as to what Christmas is really about. If you want to be able to share the true meaning of Christmas, it's vitally important to thoroughly understand its history.
Agreed.
So what I want to do is I want to take us through a walk through the history of Christmas, its many traditions, which most of us have pretty much grown up to love. This you can all follow along in the dictionary, history books, world religion textbooks, the scriptures, the church fathers, pretty much all the major religion, or all the different denominations will admit these things readily, some of them very proudly. Let's talk about the date of December 25th, first of all. You know, many non-believers are more than happy to point out that December 25th is not the historical birth of Jesus, and that this date is found nowhere in Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
They'll also enthusiastically go on to claim that this really is in fact the long-celebrated birthday of numerous heathen sun gods. You know, in order to accurately represent the one true God of the Scriptures, we need to be able.
So he's flashing a lot of stuff there, but I want y'all to kind of take note of some of the things that he's showing, even though it's going pretty fast. The winter solstice. You have 4 points in the season. Now, the Most High gave us in Genesis the sun, moon, and the stars in order to keep time as a time-keeping mechanism. We talked about that in some other videos as it relates to the calendar. However, in the book of Jeremiah, we read that Abba Yah tells us through the prophet, don't be dismayed at the signs of the heavens. So the signs of the heavens are, again, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the things going on with the celestial bodies, right? The difference in using something as a timekeeping mechanism and being dismayed at them or worshiping or idolizing them is like the difference in that and like the zodiac, telling the future and stuff like that. But the other thing that they did is these 4 points in the season that the book of Enoch gives us as just stamps to recognize where you are in the cycle of the time are the points where the sun is the lowest, the points where the sun is the highest, and then the 2 points where the sun is kind of at an intermediary point. So you've got the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, and then the winter solstice. So this winter solstice during the time period where the weather was extremely cold and you dealt with a people who may have been living in extreme darkness, like for example, the Dark Ages, like Killer Mike saying that song, people was eating raw meat and buried Kalai. Well, there were some things that they would worship because they felt like it was a lifeline to them.
And then another one of the things, understanding exactly what took place during the Tower of Babel. So there was a monarchy set up. To take it back further, right. Right, you know Absolutely. What I'm saying? There was a monarchy set up. So if I want to convince the world I am the greatest of all times, you know what I'm saying? And what would I do? I would look at things in the world that's great, like the sun, like the moon, trees even, you know what I'm saying? And you convince people. Now, I'm the monarch, so it's easy for me, especially when we know about Semiramis and we know some of her special powers. So people, you know, was not gullible, but I convinced you that when my husband / son died, he was the son.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He was born in the sun.
Right. And so now, after the Tower of Babel, when all languages and all people got scattered, they still took them same teachings. And in each one of these, we see, because I was watching some the other day, and I was watching them celebrate Christmas or prepare to celebrate Christmas in like Mongolia or something. You know, and I'm just like, how does, you know what I'm saying?
Chinese celebrate Christmas.
How?
Muslims celebrate Christmas.
Ask
Jews
yourself this
celebrate
question.
Christmas.
We as a world can't agree on nothing but things like Christmas.
Yeah.
The whole world celebrates it. So what is this? Is the whole world celebrating Christ? I don't think so.
Good question. It's a good
I don't
question.
think so. So we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing here? What are we really doing? One of the things I noticed on this picture, ain't that the Shiva sitting in Santa Claus spot?
Yeah.
You
And
got the slave.
That is Shiva, who is also known as the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Shiva the Destroyer, or Kali, or
She
whatever.
being pulled by those horses, and she and the slave.
Like the
and
slave.
those,
Yeah. And before that, you had I wanted to point that out as well. You had the crescent moon and the star.
Yeah.
So these are symbolic references to deities that were worshipped in antiquity, right? So in ancient times, they used these astrological signs and symbols to represent the deities that they were worshiping. Whereas scripturally, we were told not to worship anything in the heavens, on the earth, in the waters, not to put any of that before you.
And I know what you say. You say, well, okay, we understand that, but that ain't why we celebrate Christmas.
It's for the kids.
It's for the kids.
Do it for the kids, right?
You know, it's the only time family get to. How could you? It's kind of like TDJ's voice when he was talking about the marshmallows and the roasted nuts.
Right.
You know, it's the only time family get together and we love each other and we share gifts. How could that be wrong? But think of what Huey say. You know, actually, it had nothing to do with Messiah,
Right.
And he probably hates you for celebrating it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We know that the power of the Bible, the Most High, we know He's a very jealous power.
Right.
He tell you that over and over again.
Right.
So you think He is fine with you just harmlessly celebrating these other deity celebration just for the kids?
I would think not.
Me.
But let's see what else this guy has to say.
Be intellectually honest and take a real careful look at the historical and scriptural facts concerning Christmas.
Sickle moon
The
star
high day
again.
of ancient sun worship historically occurred every December 25th, when the sun displayed its unconquerability, when it began to rise higher in the sky following the winter solstice.
Right.
Hence, December 25th was celebrated as the sun's birthday.
Right.
This pagan religious practice was the first historical observance of December 25th as being a holy day. So we can go back to the beginning of the story and take a look at really the first Christmas. The story, a lot of people don't realize it's a lot older than we think. Actually,
Right.
begins over 4,000 years ago in the land of Shinar, also called Babylon.
He's on point. So far, he is accurate, right and exact.
That old Tower of Babel.
Yep. I like that he's giving those scriptural references. So pause. So that's good information to know. So first of all, he's giving you the scriptures to understand who Nimrod was. He's telling you about that place that was historically known as Shinar. You may also hear referenced as Samaria or as Babylon, right? But then he talks about the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's not in the Bible. Why is he referencing that? Well, the Epic of Gilgamesh, you want to expound?
The Epic of... isn't that the story of basically from Nimrod's perspective.
Right. So that's extra biblical resource that talks about Nimrod. But if you haven't read or don't believe in the Bible, you don't know it's Nimrod.
Right.
But that's who the Epic of Gilgamesh is talking about. As he says, it records and unearthed from Mesopotamian and Egyptian cities, offer much to be learned. So yeah, that's the story about Nimrod from their perspective.
In the Epic of Gilgamesh, didn't Gilgamesh either become a giant or end up a giant in...
You mean like that picture of Nimrod that they show holding a full-grown lion like it's a kitty cat?
My baby was just saying today, she was like, you know, I was today years old when I realized there's a picture of Nimrod. And he's holding like a cat in his arms.
It's a lion.
Like somebody with a house cat.
Right.
You know, and she was like, you know, I was today years old when I realized that's a lion he's holding. With like a big old, you know, brick in his hand.
And so what you, if you are already familiar with scriptures, then you know already. But what you have to know is that Nimrod was called a mighty man in the earth. A mighty man in the earth. And became worshipped and became worshipped as a god, not only a king in the earth, but also as a god in the earth. And so that's really the origins of all of this that is related to Christmas. Is you have to understand that Nimrod, who he was historically, and what he rose to be. And then, as Rib is very fond of pointing out, who was the power behind Nimrod?
It was. And it's crazy because she's like, whenever I see those Masonic pictures and they have people standing there with their hand inside their coat, representing the hidden hand, she was truly the hidden hand. Yep. You know, the scriptures don't speak too much of it.
Power behind the throne is another phrase you hear people say.
The scriptures don't speak too much about it, but you hear her mentioned quite a bit in the scriptures, but just never like by name.
Right.
You know, in one instance, she's the queen of heaven. In another instance, she's the whore of Babylon. But his mother/wife was not human.
Right.
The legends of her say that she was born out of an egg that came from the ocean. So she's
reptilian.
She's some kind of splice between maybe fallen and
mermaid.
Yeah, that's
sea deity.
That's the origin of her. That she was a mermaid who came up and tempted Nimrod's father, who was it Cush, a Cush son? No,
so
was
Nimrod
it Cush?
is of the lineage of Ham.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was Cush or whatever, but yeah, and he got her pregnant, and she gave birth to this Nimrod.
Let's go.
According to the book of Genesis, he was the great-grandson of Noah and was the king of Shinar, Babylon. He is depicted in the Bible as both being a man of power and a mighty hunter. He also appears in numerous legends and folktales outside the Bible as well. It was King Nimrod who led the first world revolt against God after the flood, when he established the Babylonian world tyranny and constructed the infamous Tower of Babel. You know, Nimrod actually married his own mother, whose name was Semiramis. Nimrod's birthday was December 25th.
Now you see the pictures of her depicted that she had wings. As if she may have been a father.
Some kind of claw feet.
Pretty much
Genesis 6.
By his people as a god. Considered by many historians to have been the first sun god, upon which all the other sun god
that picture right there.
That's the one.
So I want to pause on that picture right there because, again, if we're talking about Jeremiah, Jeremiah 10, right? So we're going to read it. And you may hear this more than one time during this reaction video. But let's go ahead and bust a cherry.
Because we see in all those pictures here, and especially that Egyptian picture down there, I like to really point that out. When people say how harmless their tree is and how their tree is just a little representation of the baby Christ in the cauldron. I mean, what is that thing he was in? Anyway, in the manger. You know, and so you can see that that's clearly Egyptians with a Christmas tree. Now, they were many, many years before Messiah was born. So when Abba Yah tell us in Jeremiah 10 about that tree, you gotta wonder. These some things that make you say,
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to read? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Jeremiah 10, would you like me to start at you want 1?
Start at 3.
Okay, here we go. Jeremiah 10 verse 3. For the laws of these people are worthless. For one cuts a tree from what, you know what, let me start at 2. Is that okay? Thus says Yahuwah, do not learn the ways of the nations, and do not be awed by the signs of the heavens. For the nations are awed by them. So now we have a kind of a pinpoint of what it is and who he talking to. He talking to us about the strange people around us, like the Egyptians, right? For the laws of these people are worthless. For one cuts a tree from the forest, work from the hands of a craftsman with cutting tools. They beautify it with silver and gold. They strengthen it with a nail and hammer so that it doesn't topple over. They are like a rounded post, and they do not speak.
Right.
They have to be carried because they do not walk.
Right.
Do not be afraid of them, for they have no power to do evil or to do good. Okay.
So
let me stop there.
Just like Red pointed out, if you look at the bottom left-hand picture, this is clearly something that's depicted in ancient Egypt. We just read this in the book of Jeremiah. That's ancient Egypt. They've got that tree secured so that it doesn't move, and they're decorating. Now, if you look at the picture above that, that's a Sumerian picture.
And notice the 3 entities. You got Semiramis, Nimrod, and Tammuz.
And so they're doing the same thing. That's a post secured, and they're sitting there decorating. And so my question to you, and I want you to consider this throughout this whole reaction video, is if this is about the Messiah who was born in Matthew, which is the so-called New Testament, why is this way before he was ever born, and they're still doing this same custom?
If it's harmless, you know what I'm saying?
If it's about Messiah. If it's about Messiah, why are they doing it way before his birth? If it was about him. And what we're submitting to you that it was not about him, and it's still not about him, because this custom of doing this during this month was about Tammuz. Was about Nimrod, was about Tammuz.
Right.
They predated this dated all the way back to ancient Samaria, Mesopotamia, and Babylon. This is a custom of worshiping a god that the Bible clearly told you do not worship.
Let me tell you something. Queen Semiramis was an opportunist. And she happened to jump. She was very intelligent. She happened to jump on the perfect opportunity to make her family legendary forever.
Earth, yeah.
You know, she knew the prophecy of Messiah, because we know they knew the prophecy of him in the earth because we knew about that back during the days of Enoch. And Enoch was years before Nimrod. So Enoch prophesied about the Messiah. So she already knew that the man-child was going to be born from the virgin. Only thing she had to do was situate her family in the right spot, and then say, I'm the virgin. Although
she was a whore.
Yeah. I'm the virgin. Nimrod dead. Now somebody else and got her pregnant. Now the people looking at her like, you dedicate to Nimrod. Surely you didn't get pregnant by another man.
And what choice did they have if she did but to accept what she said? She was the ruler.
She was the ruler. So what did she say? She said, no, this is the reincarnation of Nimrod in my belly. And that was all it took. And now you got the first Trinity created. She was able to jump on prophecy of Messiah and line her family up, which killed me when I hear like Egyptologists say, well, you know, the story of Christ was out thousands of years before Christ. Yes, I know. Do you know why? You know what I'm saying? But the prophecy of Messiah was in the earth before the flood.
And so is something else important to note is, and I'm sure you're going to see representations of it going forward, is that sickle moon you keep seeing is a representation for Semiramis. And so when we hear this term, it's a dog whistle. when you hear this term immaculate conception, if you look that up, look it up for yourself. If you look that up, it is not a reference to the virgin birth of Messiah. It is actually a reference to the virgin birth of his mother.
Yes.
Which is not Messiah's mother, but the virgin birth of Diana.
Yes.
Or the virgin birth of who they call Mary. Now, what they've done is they've taken the story of Messiah and his mother, and they've transposed and affixed their deities, like it says in Maccabees, to that story. That deity, Semiramis, may have had an immaculate birth.
She may have. I mean, you know.
But that's who that's a reference to. And every time you see these pictures of Diana, you'll see the sickle moon, because Diana is a different nation's name for Semiramis. And then when you start looking at Mother Mary, the false representation of the Messiah's mother, you'll also see a sickle moon. You'll see it either on her head, take note of it, right above her head, or at her feet. This is to let you know, consistent with the Babylonian understanding of communicating by symbols, after the language was confused or confounded so that people couldn't communicate in the same language. How you communicate? We use symbols. You recognize a symbol? See that sickle moon? You know we're talking about Semiramis, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see that sickle moon either at the feet of or above the head of Diana, which is the goddess of the hunt, which is Semiramis, which is Astarte, Ishtar, Easter, Mary. And if you look at those, especially among the Latino community, the pictures of Mary, who they say is the mother of the Messiah, even though it's not, you see that sickle moon, that's going to tell you who that picture is of. It is of the same deity.
And she's in a perfect position to keep this lie going, because what do we know about the Nephilim, right? We know that they can live in their body form. Now, we learned that in Enoch, that they can live in their body form for up to what is it, 400 years? 500?
According to some
400 or
readings,
500 years, right? But then Yah said he won't take their spirit. So once they die, their spirit is forced to roam to earth to look for another body or another house. Now, she became the queen of heaven. She became the mother queen, mother earth, all these different legends about her. She's still around perpetrating this myth, right? And because she's a spirit that can grant favors and do supernatural and, you know, make a couple tricks happen, men continue to worship her. Cain, you know what I'm saying? Men continue to worship her. You know what I'm saying? She's in the perfect spot to be the goddess, to worship the goddess that's worshipped even to this day. You know what I'm saying?
And just something else, just so you understand a little bit more about that symbology. So we talked about the sickle moon, but then you see the sickle moon and star, like you see in Islam, right? What does that represent? Okay? The sickle moon, pay attention to the shape of it. It's shaped like a receptacle or a cup, something that you can hold something or place something in. Why do you see the sickle moon and the star together in Islamic representation?
Don't tell me it's no nasty stuff.
Well, okay, so the star is a representation of something that is being held in that cup. So if this is a receptacle and it represents the mother, I'll leave it to your imagination to understand what this star represents, like a seed being implanted into a receptacle.
It's all about sex worship.
It is. A lot of times it boils down to sex worship. So yes, that is an image of seed being implanted into a receptacle.
Yeah. You know, last week we talked about the obelisk.
Right.
That's all over. You got the obelisk in Washington, D.C. You got the obelisk that was in Egypt. And we told you what the obelisk represent. I think it's an obelisk right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Ain't it an obelisk? You know,
it's in Memphis. It's the pyramids.
Okay. So,
which is, you know,
I'm talking about right on the side of when you be riding in and out of town. It's like it's a huge obelisk. No.
It might be obelisk too.
Yeah. Okay. But we told you what that represents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the male theory symbol.
The male regenerative member.
There we go.
Regenerative member.
There we go. I was gonna say penis, but
Hey, you
just
still did.
but just all, you know what I'm saying, all over, like in our nation's capital.
Yeah.
There's a giant penis
With it.
in the capital. Like, why?
You don't keep a count somewhere on the side.
So I'm just saying.
How many
Okay, well,
times
let me
she
ask you
can say
something. You take your little kid to the Capitol, your little 3-year-old, pointing, "Mommy, what is that huge fallacy symbol?" What do you say to him?
I think they already answered it. They asked that fallacy symbol.
Oh, well, maybe a 3-year-old wouldn't say fallacy, but he may say something like, "That looks like my pee-pee." I'm done.
Let's see what else this young man has to say here.
Can somebody get
After God destroyed the Tower of Babel, Nimrod was,
Two.
according to a lot of legends, was killed by
How many
Noah's
legs
son Shem.
Middle
His body was
Can you make us two
castrated and
legs?
his parts were spread all across the land of Shinar. After Nimrod's death, his widowed mother wife, so-called Semiramis, she claimed that she had become impregnated by the rays
See
of
the
the
owl?
sun. And later,
And look, there go that star
Genesis
doing
chapter
exactly
27,
what you said that star was going to do in their
born.
receptacle.
Baby Tammuz is in the scriptures a lot of places too. They're worshiping baby Tammuz.
So now we connecting that to Horus, huh?
Right.
Isis, Osiris, and
Same
Horus.
people, folks.
Same deities.
Same deities.
Nimrod.
You can draw them black, you can draw them white. It's the same deities.
You can draw them Asian, you can draw them Indian.
Yep.
Same deities.
I think you doing too much, bro.
Re-erection of the penis of Nimrod.
Phallic
Or in
symbol.
other
Look,
words, the springing forth of new life.
are you telling me that tree represent the penis?
It represents the springing forth. So pause. Let's just
Get
clarify
outta
this.
here.
Why the fir? Why the evergreen?
Oh, not for pure.
Why the evergreen? The evergreen is also known as a fir tree. You're an arborist.
Okay.
Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that
I
accurate?
am. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the thing about the evergreen is what?
It doesn't die.
It doesn't die. So this being chosen as a representative
Right.
of his regenerative member was a symbol of virility.
Oh my
This was a
goodness.
symbol of you can't kill me. I'm gonna forever be.
Can forever keep it up.
I can forever keep it up.
Get out.
Yeah. So that's why the fir tree was chosen as a representation.
That's people. That's
Springing
just
forth new life, but life that is hard to.
kill.
Yeah, it's not something that's gonna die in the winter and come back in the summer. No, I'm here.
I'm here forever.
Exactly. So that's why the fir tree. Okay, go ahead. When you bring that fir tree in your house, that's what it's for.
Wow.
That's where a lot of the Yule log comes from that they throw in the fire, and then the next day it would be re-erected as the full tree, and the serpent was wrapped around, and that's where that comes from, that story of Nimrod.
Oh wow, people.
In Egypt,
People don't bring their
after God
penises in your
confounded
house.
The languages at the Tower of Babel.
Fourth one.
The
Keep
story
an
of
account.
Nimrod, Semiramis, and baby Tammuz was spread across the earth in over 70 languages. In Egypt, Horus, the son of Isis, the Egyptian title for the queen of heaven, 25th. In accordance with the story of Nimrod, ancient Egyptians used to bring trees into their homes.
The Garden of Eden,
for their Winter
Tree of
Solstice
Life.
festival,
Look at
where
that.
Children placed gifts at the bottom, was placed at the top of the tree. The Egyptians even dipped balls in gold and silver. They'd cut testicles off of animals or sacrifices, and they'd hang them from their trees.
Now that I didn't know about, but I believe it.
Their sun god Ra, like a fertility kind of deal. One of the early roots of the
That's a
modern
new one on
Christmas
me,
character Santa Claus was actually the god Molech, or Jamoth.
Yeah, we knew that.
Every December 25th.
Take note of the scriptures he posting, y'all.
This is recorded in the Bible.
That's good that he's giving that.
A public child mass or sacrifice was held.
Yep.
The head priest would stoke this iron image of the enthroned Molech with wood and burning pitch, and they turn it into this giant glowing red furnace.
Pause.
And then the people.
So here's the thing. He's talking about the furnace already. So that's good. He's going there. The other thing I want y'all to understand about the Yule log is there's a Hebrew term that's very close to that same name, Yule, and it means child. It's a representation for a child. So that Yule log may be the same log that they was using to stoke the fire in this furnace. The picture they got on the screen now of that bull. You see the horns in the shape of that sickle moon? Mm-hmm. You see how the priest is giving that baby to that beast? That's Molech. Right? Mm-hmm. Or what's the other one?
Nimrod.
No, what's the other one?
Baal.
Baal. Mm-hmm. Molech or Baal go by several different names. Mm-hmm. There was a molten image where that bull stag god would have
not the reindeers that love
would have a section cut out of its stomach, and that's where they built the furnace. Right, that's where they put the logs for the fire. Yep. So they would then put the babies that they were sacrificing to that deity in that furnace, in that belly. So if you ever heard that term, the belly of the beast.
Belly of the beast.
That's where that term comes from. They were sacrificing their children. They were putting their children in the belly of that molten image in that fire. That's where that term comes from. On the Yule log. So you sitting up every year
putting the Yule log in your fire.
Listening to what's my man, the black brother, the crooner, Nat King Cole.
Okay, yeah.
Yuletide burning.
Carols.
I'm messing that up. Yuletide carols being sung by a fire.
Yeah.
Folks dressed up like
Eskimos. Everybody knows.
And singing it like it's a good thing. And it was a reference to your children being burned in the belly of Molech.
Come on, people. Come on.
But we don't stop to ask ourselves, right? We don't stop to ask or research, what do these things that we're saying or what do these things that we're doing mean? Just because something was given to us as a tradition, handed down for generations and generations, don't make it right
and
or good.
It's like Obama said. You can put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig.
Still a pig. Go ahead.
You make a long list of the desires that they wanted, and they'd recite them to their God of prosperity. Just before they put their infant
as Nimrod with another Christmas tree.
The red hot lap of the glowing red god.
Yep.
And he was wearing
in
a
the
Phrygian cap too, just like Santa Claus. That Phrygian cap. That was
them babies is not happy.
No, they ain't happy.
They're two very interesting similarities. That's actually the roots of the Santa Claus character. Kind of sick the priests would interpret revelations through the screaming of the burning babies. So they get these revelations from their God. Through the screaming of these babies. Kind of sick.
That is kind of sick.
In Rome, there was the largest pagan religion which fostered some worship in the Greek and Roman worlds at this time was the cult of Mithraism.
Mithraism. Worship of the Persian sun god.
Also Nimrod. Remember the Tower of Babel, many languages.
Go ahead.
Mithra will also be Nimrod. You got to realize each of them people, Yah made it so that everybody there spoke a different language so that two men did not understand each other. Mm-hmm. So you know how many languages was born. So the name Nimrod became known in several different languages.
Right.
So
but the same individual.
Same individual.
And so read this. The Feast of Sol Invictus on December 25th was a sacred day in the religion of Mithraism, which was widespread in the Roman Empire. Its god, Mithras, was a solar deity of Persian origin identified with the sun. Hey, let me tell you something. Y'all ever heard of the black sun?
Yeah.
What's the black sun?
I don't know.
Saturn. So when we get to Roman culture, now we're dealing with Persian culture. When we get to Roman culture, and they deify a day, also December 25th, and base it on Saturn.
So that's why they worship Saturn?
Saturnalia is what we understand is the black sun.
Yeah.
And that's that day's worship. Absolutely.
I did not know that.
So you got several people that understand. Now that kind of gets deep. It's a little bit too deep for us to get too far into right now. But the cube.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
The cube in the Middle East.
Yep.
The Kaaba stone.
They even said the black cube of the
is a representation of Saturn. If you look
What
at
game is
images, if you look at
PlayStation.
satellite images of the superpowered scopes, what do you call those scopes?
Telescopes.
Telescopes. Thank you. If you look at satellite images and superpowered telescopes that look at Saturn, you'll see the rings around Saturn, but within Saturn you see something that looks like a cube.
Sure. Yeah, I seen that picture.
And it's a black cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Kaaba stone that the Muslims walk around counterclockwise,
and they kiss it too,
is boxed by a black cube which represents something. Within that cube is a stone that they call the Kaaba stone. It was an asteroid.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
That fell to the earth.
Is that the what they put the little yoni around?
So the stone is what you're referring to as the yoni. That was the meteor that fell, and then they put a cast over it. But that's the shape that it has of a yoni. Now, the yoni is the female reproductive organ. You ask yourself, why are we listening to Nicki Minaj talk about a yoni in her verses and her rap? Well, she know what a yoni is.
She know what
Y'all
a
heard
yoni
that?
is.
Y'all heard Nicki Minaj talk about a yoni in her rap?
Yeah, she's talking about that yoni.
Timmy, you heard? Yeah. Why Nicki Minaj talking about a yoni?
And why, when after they walk around the cube, do they go kiss the?
They go into the square and they put their head in there, and put their head in the yoni.
You know how many people got COVID from kissing that yoni?
Here's another representation of the black star, or the black sun. How many of y'all have ever seen or know what a swastika is? Show of hands for y'all in the room. Y'all know what a swastika is? You know what a swastika is? Okay. Did you know that the swastika did not originate with Hitler and the Nazi regime? The swastika you will find images of in ancient Egypt.
Sure will.
So Hitler didn't come up with that, what he called a swastika. He knew about something that was what they call occultic.
Yep.
And he was simply of the belief in the uplifting of the same thing they was uplifting in ancient Egypt. The swastika was a representation of the black sun as well. Think about it.
Ain't there a band called Black Sun?
The Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
The lines that go outside of that swastika are representations of sun rays.
Yeah.
But it was a representation of Saturn, which is what they refer to as the black sun.
Sun.
I know it's related. I don't want to get too deep off into it, but it is related.
It's all relevant.
It's all relevant. That's right.
Like the other sun gods, was supposedly born on December 25th as well. They call it the nativity of the sun.
The nativity
the
of the
Romans
sun.
separated this winter holiday into several different parts.
Y'all remember the nativity scene? They say they put in front of all the churches. That's the nativity scene
Wait,
of the S-U-N, not the S-O-N.
They always talk about the wise men, the 3 wise men, although the Bible never said how many it was.
That's right.
Coming to see Christ in the manger.
Right.
But when you really find out, he was like 4.
The receptacle.
Right. But
The
when
sun.
But
the sun, the S-U-N in the receptacle.
Yeah. But in real life, you found out that the Messiah was like 4 and would have been a toddler.
That's right.
And that, the Bible never told you how many wise men came to see him. So where did the number 3 come from? And what's the occultness in that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Up to the things that we've been
Power
fed.
of 3, Trinity.
They really counted on us not researching. And us all being the kind of people that love to live in our ignorance. You know, ignorance is bliss. Just give me some purse. Give me a Gucci bag under the tree. The tree that's a penis. Number 5. The penis tree. Now y'all.
Yes, that is number 5.
Y'all all got them penis trees in your house with the little gifts underneath it. Your children bow down to it to open up the gifts. Y'all, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Now, we know that, according to the legend, if you worship Nimrod, if you worship Satan, they would give you gifts. So, Santa, now you done told your kids that the white Nimrod came down the chimney and put gifts for your children underneath the symbol of his penis in your house to thank them for having his penis in their house in the form of worship. That's what you're doing. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Really think about the emotions that you go through in order to celebrate this. If to prostrate or to bow before something is an act of worship, in order for our children to partake of or to receive these gifts, they must first bow. How do you get the gifts on the tree?
Yeah,
you have to bow down and get the gifts.
You gotta bow down and get them.
So you are literally sacrificing your children, even though you're not putting them in the immediate fire. You're causing them to commit an act of worship that in the day of judgment will be counted against them and therefore cause them to be cast in the lake of fire. So it's still an act of sacrifice because you're leading them down a path that is not a path to everlasting life.
And then if you ever want to know what the Most High think about this, just pay attention to the spirit, what they call the Christmas spirit, when it fall over people.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, people are nice to the people in their immediate family when they all get ready to get the gifts from the giant penis. But notice what the parking lot of Walmart like. And the parking lot at the stores, and when you go in the store, in the store the other day, I seen 2 women fighting. And that ain't new. That happen all the time. You got it's like a ravenous spirit that come over you. And remember we was in Walmart. We didn't know that we had went to Walmart on Black Friday, just to show you how we just don't keep up with these dates. And we in the parking lot, and these 2 cars was trying to, go in for the same spot. And when I tell you they got to fighting, like it was serious, so they could get in there and take advantage of the Black Friday sales where they raised the price. I know, you know what I'm saying? And the price still end up being more than what the TV's worth.
This season, if you think about it, in this season, statistically now, this is statistically proven, you have the highest levels of depression, suicide, anxiety, and all that stuff going on. And then you'll look at the TV and it's steady telling you, you know what I'm saying, see the spirit.
Be happy.
See the spirit.
Be the spirit.
Feel the spirit.
Feel the spirit.
Be the spirit. What is this spirit? This spirit, if we critically analyze the spirit that we're discussing, it's not a good spirit. It's not a happy spirit. You got families come together over these holiday tables, and it be the most arguments going on.
Oh my goodness.
Politics and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
You come put up with each other. I'm telling you from personal experience.
Yeah.
You come put up with each other because I gotta go by such and such house.
And I gotta show out my new Christmas present.
Show my face, but you going to stunt. You going to rub stuff in people's face. You keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I'm saying? You spending money you don't have. You know how many people go into debt every Christmas? Because you spending money you don't haven't worked for, just to make sure that they got a present, Yep. You trying to buy a present for each one of your girlfriends. Your wife ain't your girlfriends. They gonna
talk about you because you ain't had no money to get nobody the presents, baby.
That ain't what's up.
That is not of
Let's skip forward to we're gonna skip the second part of this. I want to do a glimpse of this brother. We looked at one of his videos when we were talking about Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. His name is Doc something or another. But he gives you, that's it, you pass it.
The ex-Satanists.
Yeah, he gives you the perspective on Christmas from being a witch.
He was a witch.
He was raised in a family of practicing witches.
Yep.
And what he's telling you is, we knew what Christmas was about. And so when we kept Christmas understanding what it was about. And he's telling you from that perspective.
Yep.
So let's see what he's talking about. Yeah, you can start from the beginning. He jumped right into it. If we got any seed left.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to get in trash.
Okay.
We're now going to examine the wonderful holiday known as Christmas. Now, what could be possibly wrong
Look
with
at the Tower of
having
Babel.
the spirit of
That's what it
goodwill
looked like, lit up.
and all this? Well, if you understand the truth behind the Christmas story, you're going to find out that the whole thing is wrong. When I was a child, I remember when my father used to take us out to the woods, and we would take an axe, we would find a nice full pine tree, and we would cut it down, we would drag it through the snow, we would bring it in the house, much to my mother's protest, because there'd be pine needles and snow everywhere. And then we would set it up on one of those metal stands so that it wouldn't move. You know, we made sure it was really good and solid. And we would deck it with gold and silver trimmings and everything. And of course, you know, put the traditional 5-pointed star on top of it. Mm-hmm. And this is what most people, if they're from my generation, and most people nowadays, would have gone through that. I'm not saying that you would go out and cut down a tree. No, a lot of people like going for the artificial stuff. So what could possibly be wrong with the Christmas tree? Is there anything unbiblical or ungodly about it? Well, according to the Bible, in Jeremiah chapter 10, we pick it up in verse 1. It says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord," and folks, I want you to memorize these next 7 words. "Learn not the way of the heathen. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain." Now listen very carefully to this. We're in the middle of verse 3. "For one cuts the tree out of the forest. The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not." Ladies and gentlemen, that's a Christmas tree.
All day, every day.
And right here in God's own word, he says, "Learn not the way of the heathen." What the heathen are the ancient occultists, and also known as pagans.
Right.
You are not supposed to be practicing any of this. God's own word makes it very clear not to be involved in this. And yet, there are going to be those people who's going to try to convince you, well, God's not talking about a tree here. He was referring to a plant or to something else. I've heard these arguments over and over and over again, ladies and gentlemen, and quite honestly, at this age, I'm sick of it. Because God's word makes it
So
very
he's an
clear.
ex-wish
These
converted to
people have
Christianity.
gone out, they cut down a tree, they brought it home, they fastened it so it didn't move, they put all types of gold and silver decorations on it, they decked the halls with it, and this is exactly what we're doing to this very day. So don't tell me that this is something other than a tree, because this is exactly what those pagans were doing then, and that's exactly what we're doing now. And when we take a look just at one of these pictures, this is exactly what the Bible had been talking about. People had been trimming it and decking it with gold and silver and all these wonderful, beautiful items that I wanted. The pagans, among other things, they would put little pieces of cake, candy and sweet items on it. This is why to this very day we're putting candy canes and other things like that on it, because it's part of the ancient pagan practice of honoring the winter stag god. Now, as I just stated, Jeremiah makes it very, very clear that Christmas trees are not supposed to be observed. They have absolutely nothing to do with anything that is good or godly. So then the question is, why are we doing it? On top of the Christmas tree, and just about most Christmas trees, you will find that there is a 5-pointed star. Now the question is, why do we have, such an item on top of our trees? If you recall, well, there's many different candies, little cakes and offerings and such here.
Offerings. He called them offerings.
This is here because it goes all the way back to Nimrod. Nimrod himself, as depicted here, this is one of the ancient depictions on a relief of Nimrod. Nimrod himself, if you remember, was the stag god. He was considered the winter god. And just like at Rockefeller Center, where they have these huge Christmas trees every year, all lit up, at the top you'll find the traditional 5-pointed star. Now, interesting enough, at the base, in front of Rockefeller Center, whose address is 666, mind you.
Get out.
Because you've ever gone to that building, and I've seen it and been there before. The very top, these huge neon lights, there are 3 red 6s that will glow at night.
Wow.
But at the base of this tree is a statue, and that remains there all year. And let me show you a larger version of this. That statue is the statue of Prometheus.
Wow.
Now, Prometheus, if you know your ancient Greek legends, was the one who stole the fire of illumination from the gods and brought it down to mankind. So mankind now had illumination or the enlightenment of wisdom.
Why would that be important? So the illumination was a representation of wisdom. I get that, but that would also be important to people who are dealing with cold in the winter and not used to the things that we were. So we dealing with the people who were in the dark. In a lot of ways, because they did not operate according to the law, statutes, and commandments that we were operating according to. A lot of times they were dealing with sicknesses, illnesses. We told scripturally not to eat raw meat. You know what I'm saying? We're told scripturally how to cleanse ourselves. So you're dealing with, especially during the winter times, not only are you sick, but now you're dealing with the cold and all of that. And fire represent knowledge, but it also represent heat. Represent warmth.
And you know who the God of enlightenment is? The one who came to enlighten mankind, the freer of mankind, Satan.
That's right. That's right. So that's a representation. That stag understanding as well, being a winter god, being a god that visits in the winter time, and I think he's going to get into that. Is interesting because if you were worshiping that stag god,
like the one TGJ say, he likes the reindeers.
Right, the reindeer. So if you were worshiping that stag god, and if you were okay with that stag god visiting your household, what you would do historically is you would put lights
around your house,
around your windows, around your doors, as a signal that you were a welcomed resting place, that you're welcoming them in. Think about almost like a runway for an airplane, or the landing strip for an airplane. It's lit up so that they know where to land at, right?
Here.
So the what does it remind you of? the blood of the lamb over the doorpost.
Yeah. The complete opposite of Cain. Yeah.
So you're dealing with angels, right?
Yep.
In that example, you're dealing with a destroying angel that's coming to destroy. And this one, you're dealing with quite possibly a fallen that is looking for someone that's welcoming them in. And this sign is these lights are a symbol that you are in allegiance with and welcoming this presence to come and dwell in your house.
For you guys that didn't hear what my band said, he was saying that they kind of remind him. You know how it said that Satan is a copycat. Right. It's kind of like a mirror. You know what I'm saying? The reflection of righteousness is evil. You know, the complete opposite. Right. So he was saying it remind him of when Abiyah told the children of Israel to put the blood of the lamb over their door. As a sign, you know what I'm saying, to keep out the death that was sweeping through the land of Egypt. Mm-hmm. So, Satan being a copycat, when you put up your lights and your Christmas decorations, you're saying, come in. It's a welcoming. Not like the children of Israel did, which is like, keep them out. No. When you put up your lights and your Christmas decorations, you're welcoming them in. Mm-hmm.
Right.
The fire from the gods. So, why are there, among other things, Christmas lights on the tree? Well, you see, there's a lot of...
Should have just let him say it.
I know, probably.
In the old days, people from the old world, like me and others,
told y'all, like me and others.
The people who are practicing the occult to this very day, candles would be put on top of the trees, among other things, because it was the dark times. This was a season of the year in which most of the sun was gone and it was constantly dark out. Well, candles were lit that was actually used as a beacon to the winter god, so that during the evenings, he would see those lights fly over and come around your house and bless the people inside of the house in your home for welcoming him back in. This is why the candles were used. And to this very day, we're still using these seasonal lights. We've got electric lights, so we've modernized the practice of welcoming back the stand god. We'll put them around the tree, we'll put them in the windows, and we have these massive displays outside.
Massive.
These lights, according to the ancient occult practice now, is supposed to welcome back onto the earth the winter god. Now, part of the practice of Christmas is hanging, first of all, is the Yule log fire. Now this, the log inside of it is referred to as the Yule log. Now it's not called Yule for no reason at all. Remember, this is December 21st, the human night sacrifice of Yule. Now tradition teaches us in the occult,
the human night sacrifice of Yule. Of Yule. So remember I told you Yule is representation of children? So that Yule log is a log to put children on. Okay. Now this is somebody who was practicing occult practices, admitting that he understood this is what his parents brought him up in. They weren't just witches, y'all. They were high-ranking witches.
If you ever have time to watch this whole his presentation have been split up in different, but if you ever have time to watch this whole thing, he do start off by explaining how deep they was in it to the occult and how big of witches they were, and a lot like that guy that came up missing. I don't know if his family was high ranking. I don't know if his family was as high ranking as that guy's family, but he do talk about how he was brought up in these dark arts and the things that they used to do, and how everything that we're taught today is good is things that we're taught that their feast days are good. You know what I'm saying? Instead of the feast days of the Most High. The Bible has feast days, but many of us have never even heard of them.
Right.
Many of us don't even know that Abiyah, the Most High, has feast days that he's given us. And many of us don't know that because we've been given the feast days of this world, of this whore queen. We've been given her feast days.
Right.
So I'm telling you, you might want to. I mean, I know you may think it's.
Pay attention to the name of this video if you want to check this out. Even though this one is just dealing with Christmas.
I think they broke it.
Ex-Satanist exposes Christmas, Saturnalia, Santa gifts. But the reason I'm giving you, portions of this in our video is kind of to preserve the information because he had the first video we saw with him wasn't even this video. It was him speaking to a church of Christians, and he was an invited guest. The pastor invited him. And that video I can't find on YouTube.
Anywhere. Like, they are removing this information,
Right.
people. Now it's the time it's going to be, I remember reading in the scripture that there was going to come a time where men were going to look for the word. They were going to look for the law, but weren't going to be able to find it. And I used to think to myself, like, how can they do that? How can they pull it out? Well, we're seeing that. YouTube, all these sources that we depended on to get this information, it's disappearing so swiftly.
Yep.
It's disappearing, and they're replacing it with the information they want us to have.
Correct.
So I'm telling you, y'all better now is the time. Snatch it up.
Go ahead.
I'll be played. But tradition in the occult teaches that, first of all, the Yule log should be made out of birch. Once it has been lit and used for the holidays, you're supposed to keep one part of the birch log or the Yule log and set it aside for next year. Why you do this is because you're supposed to take that piece of the Yule log from last year and make this year's Yule log. This way, it's a constant cycle.
Wow.
You take from the old,
another copycat situation.
The new keeps kindling itself over and over again. This, symbolically speaking, is the cycle of reincarnation, because every year you welcome back into your home by lighting the Yule log, the god of the winter known as the stag god, or originally known as Nimrod. Now, what could possibly be so ungodly about kissing underneath the mistletoe?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
There's something wrong with this, first of all. One thing I will warn you about, people, whatever you do, never touch those berries. 3 of them could kill you. This plant is so poisonous.
Wow.
Among other things that's wrong with it, mistletoe itself was very sacred to the Druids.
I believe.
It was a fertility plant. This was a very sacred plant to the Druids, from which the Illuminati claimed direct ascendancy from. They claim to be the modern day Druids, or the modern day rendition of the Druids.
Right.
And it's because this is a fertility plant that people kiss underneath it.
Okay, makes sense.
Now,
because what they got to do with Christmas? What they do with the birth of Messiah?
They trying to get pregnant. They trying to get pregnant.
we have
sound more like
another
Saturnalia.
fertility plant known as the wreath. We make a Christmas wreath. It's green and red, and you will constantly find green and red throughout the Christmas season, because in the occult world, those are the 2 colors that are used for this season. And for every season, they do have specific colors that's used for their occult magic and occult belief system. Now, the wreath itself is always circular if they're an occult practitioner, and there will always be candles in the center of it. The reason this is so, as I said before, this is another fertility symbol. The candle or candles represent the male phallic symbol. The circle represents the female reproductive
It's all
organ.
about sex, people.
This is why it is, symbolically speaking, a fertility symbol. And this is something, symbolically speaking, we have a circle here, men are the wreaths, that represents reincarnation. In other words, the life, the birth, and the death of the stag god every single year.
The full cycle.
And you will find that this symbol originated from the great obelisk in Egypt. Now here is a picture of the Vatican City.
There you go.
You notice dead center is the obelisk. This obelisk here, at the very top of it, and that bowl supposedly resides the charred remains, the cremated ashes.
So if you was to see an aerial view of that obelisk in the Vatican, you will see that structure that they built around it is in the shape of a circle.
Yep.
They line the streets in the way that it looks like rays coming out from the center of that circle.
It looked like a sun.
And also like the wreath he was just describing. And then you got that phalanx in the middle.
Yep.
So you have, again, I'm going to try to say this as wholesome as possible.
It's a penis.
What is the penis in?
The womb.
Okay. So you have the circle representative of the female sexual member with the phalanx in the middle of the females. That's
Not
what
at the Vatican. That's where the Pope is.
Where the Pope? That's the papacy for you.
That's
so anyway,
papacy.
Yeah. So this is what the papacy. But here's the deal, right?
We've all been lied to, people.
You've been counted as catechumen. You have been counted as uninitiated, therefore available for them to flaunt this stuff in your face, us as well, without you knowing what it is. So what they're saying is, I can put this right in front of your face. You don't even know what I'm talking about or what I'm doing.
They count on us living ignorant and being happy there.
So the Vatican is supposed to represent the Church of Christ on earth, right?
That's what we heard. That's what they say.
I would say that it does. But anyway, they're telling you that it's supposed to represent the Church of Messiah on earth, to which I would say it doesn't.
Absolutely not. What?
And very interesting point. If this is about Messiah and not about ancient rituals that come from antiquity, way before Messiah was born, I would ask you this, and Google this for yourself. Don't take my word for it. That obelisk that we're looking at on the screen right there was not built in Rome.
Yep, sure was.
That obelisk that we're looking on that is in Rome at the Vatican right now was shipped from Egypt because it was so important to the Pope that he have that obelisk that was originated in Egypt at the Vatican, that the Vatican paid to have it removed almost surgically without causing damage and implanted and reinserted there at the Vatican, which is where the new seat, I would submit to you, where the new seat of the priests of this particular worship now resides.
Okay, check this out. I'm going to blow your mind. This is a theory. We know that the Vatican sits where an old temple to Semiramis once sat. Maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe it's no big deal. We know that phallus or that penis they took from Egypt.
I think we're at about 20 now.
I
added one.
Okay.
We need a jar. We'll put $1 in there for every time somebody says it.
It's not me, people. They did it.
They did it.
Here's my theory. Is that the same phallus that old girl had built herself? Because we read in, I don't know if that's Jasher, but we read that after Nimrod was murdered, after Esau slew Nimrod, in order to try to get away with what he did, he cut the body up. Because Nimrod was the ruler of that time. You ain't getting away with killing Nimrod and living, right? But you had two dynamics happen. You had a switch of power. You had that dark priesthood getting rid of an old ruler, setting up a new ruler. Which is why we heard that when after Esau dismembered the body, he put Nimrod's crown on his head. Right? So you saw a switch in power. Anyway, Semiramis came and she loved him. She did. She tried to find every piece of the body. According to the legend, she found all pieces but the phallus. Okay?
That's according to the legend. That's accurate.
We read that, according to the legend, because she couldn't find the phallus, she had her craftsman build a giant phallus
Representation. Yeah.
to represent it.
Yeah.
And my question is that the same one sitting in the middle of the Vatican?
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Let's go.
Julius Caesar. But notice dead center is the Christmas, well, to the side is the Christmas tree. Now, the obelisk itself, and let me explain this to you. Notice how the obelisk is here and there's a circle around it. This is a very ancient, occult, pagan symbol of fertility. Now, you will notice that there are sets of lines, two here, and all the way around. Now, the reason the obelisk was designed in such a fashion was because it's really, in actuality, a giant heliocentric sundial.
A giant?
The shadow.
I thought he was going to say it. I was going to say, okay, what you going to count his?
It's that as well. It's a sundial as well.
In a certain place depending on the position of the sun. Now, if the obelisk shadow falls within any of these two lines, it is another night of human sacrifice. That's why there's 8 sets of them, because the shadow will fall in between these sets throughout the year. And of course, as I said before, notice, the Vatican Church is going to make sure they have their pagan Christmas tree right here in St. Peter's Square.
Right there. Coincidence?
That's something, man.
And other examples of the obelisk we have here is one in Central Park in New York. This would be Cleopatra's Needle. Supposedly, this is one of the 3 needles that resided in Heliopolis when they were just dragged from Egypt and brought here to America. This one here. Well, we've already gone over this one in the first DVD. This particular one was man-made, just like the others, but this one was made here in Washington, D.C. This is, of course, the Washington Monument, 555 feet above ground, 111 feet below ground, making for the total height of this occult pagan symbol 666 feet exact.
Are you serious?
Like the other ones, here we have the male phallic symbol, and there's a circle all the way around it.
Wow.
Which represents the female reproductive organ.
So that's the one, and he told you, the circle represents the female reproductive organ, and that one is 666 feet.
Are the penises always inside the female reproductive organ?
A lot of times.
So it's sex.
Yes. Sex worship. Yeah. I mean, like you say, go back to Semiramis and Nimrod and understand what it was about. You're dealing with Nimrod, who was ruled and given his power and authority by Semiramis, who was from all accounts that we read, looks like she was either a fallen or some kind of Nephilim.